Hello buddy, it's Bendominator and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my review on Chapter 3, Season 2 of Fortnite Battle Royale. This is just going to be my opinions and thoughts on the entire season of Battle Royale only. I'm not going to be bringing creative into this, just Battle Royale like I normally do with these reviews. So yeah, if you guys do end up enjoying the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new because I make videos like this all the time. And you can also use my supporter creator code Bendominator in the item shop #ad. Let's go ahead and get right into the review. So Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 2 focuses on the war between IO and the 7 in order to reclaim the island. And I think the theme of this season itself is kind of one of the weakest things about it. I don't really find the war theme itself to be that interesting or intriguing, especially because they didn't really do much to set it apart from other games. It kind of just feels like something we've seen a lot before in video games, especially multiplayer PvP games such as Call of Duty. And with a game like Fortnite that's usually able to stand out due to its art style and due to the fact that it usually has pretty unique themes going for it, it just feels a little bland. And it really doesn't help that I've never been a fan of the aesthetic of the IO or the 7. You've probably heard me talk about this in quite a few videos this season, but it really does bog the game down in my opinion to have the IO and the 7 be the main focus of all the new POIs, all the new cosmetics, and just the theme of the season in general. I think it just kind of limits the creativity. And I honestly think this season has probably one of the weakest themes we have ever seen. It just feels way too dull in my opinion. But moving on, it also introduced one of the best LTMs in Fortnite, and that is Zero Build. And saying it's an LTM is kind of not really true at this point because it seems to be a permanent fixture in Fortnite Battle Royale, and I'm very happy to see that. Fortnite Zero Build is definitely one of the best things they've done to the game in a while. It does seem weird that taking away the flagship thing about Fortnite makes it more fun, but it just does. The game feels a lot more casual in Zero Build, and while I still do hold the opinion that Fortnite is better with building, I think Zero Build has definitely been taking up pretty much all my attention during this season. And it really does seem like the season was designed around the fact that you cannot build, and I think the building mode during this season specifically isn't nearly as fun as Zero Build, but I have a feeling that next season I'm going to enjoy playing building more in the long run. I think overall Fortnite's better with building, but during this specific season, Zero Build has definitely been where it's at. And if you guys want to hear my more in-depth thoughts on Zero Build versus a building, I made an entire video about it if you want to check that out. But overall, I do really think that Zero Build was one of the best additions we've seen to Fortnite in a very long time. I think it helped shake things up a lot, and I'm really happy to see it. I'm happy to see a more casual game mode be introduced like this, and I think it's going to help the game a lot in the long run. We also have the new weapons and items that were added this season, and I feel like for a majority of the season, a lot of these items were just kind of boring. I really do like the Anvil rocket launcher, and I love the Ranger pump shotgun, but other than that, there wasn't really anything too interesting. A lot of stuff was recycled from old seasons, including things like the jetpack and balloons and stuff like that. There was more votes during this season, which at this point, I kind of don't really like the votes. I think I'd rather if they just added both items to the game to make people happy, because they did this thing where they would put both items in the game for a short amount of time to let people see what they liked more before voting, but I kind of just enjoyed the game better when both of the voting items were in the loot pool at the same time. I don't really see any harm in them doing that, and honestly, I just enjoyed it when both items were in compared to having to choose one. I think it just made the game a lot more fun. It also annoys me how they had wild weeks, including things like the hunting rifles and the rail guns, and they just made them wild weeks instead of just adding them to the loot pool. I don't see what would have been wrong with just adding these weapons to the loot pool as the season went on. We also saw even more nerfs to snipers, which I think is definitely a big hit, and the drum shotgun has definitely been kind of annoying to go against. Not as bad as the SMG was last season, but I do think that the drum shotgun was fine as it was before. I don't think it really needed that much of a buff. But yeah, the nerfs to snipers specifically just kind of sucks, honestly. A lot of the snipers haven't been great, and especially when they brought back the hunting rifle, it definitely felt very useless. It was still fun, it just feels really weak at this point to me. I think that snipers just feel way too weak and they just don't feel viable anymore. And snipers really haven't been viable for a long time in BR as of late. It seems like they've really been trying to avoid snipers, even in late Chapter 2. I don't really know what the deal has been with that. I just kind of want snipers to be back to the way that they used to be. But overall, I think the weapon loot pool was pretty solid. I don't prefer it over last season, especially with the items and everything. They got rid of so many good items, such as the pizza, and even the web shooters, which we all expected to get removed, but it's still disappointing to see. And on the topic of removing things, they also got rid of other things like the Uzi, the brand new heavy shotgun, which I really enjoyed. They got rid of weather for some reason, like they just introduced tornadoes and the lightning storms, which I barely even saw last season, and they're already gone. It just feels extremely disappointing. And combos are also gone, and Tilted has already been destroyed. I kind of want to wait until we see what they do with Tilted next season to kind of give my complaints on that whole thing, but for now it is very disappointing to see Tilted already get destroyed this early after being introduced. Just a lot of things that made the game super fun last season have already been removed and replaced by things that really aren't as fun in my opinion. I don't know why they wouldn't just take what they had last season and expand upon it to make it even better. It seems like they kind of just reverted back to their Chapter 2 ways. It feels like another very formulaic Chapter 2 season, because a problem I had with Chapter 2 is every season pretty much felt the same, just with a different coat of paint, and this very much feels like a Chapter 2 season. It's definitely better than most of the Chapter 2 seasons, I would say, but it is still a pretty weak offering in my opinion. The season really just does feel painfully average. But moving on, I also want to talk about the vehicles. I think the tanks were a really interesting vehicle to have, but they kind of feel a little bit gimmicky. They're similar to the vehicles like UFOs and the brutes before that. They're vehicles that you use a lot at the beginning of the season, but in my opinion, I kind of find myself getting disinterested in them and kind of just annoyed by them. Tanks definitely aren't nearly as annoying to go against as UFOs and brutes were, but I just don't really find myself using them anymore, and I don't even find other people in matches using them much anymore either. But we also did get the battle buses, which I think were a big improvement, and I honestly don't really have any complaints with the battle buses. I think they were done really well. I'm really glad that they're in the game, and I hope they don't get removed next season, even though they probably will. We also have the grand return of helicopters, which I was really excited to see until I saw how they were implemented. They only spawn at the 7 outposts, which are all on like the very far edges of the map, and they're not really great places to land in my opinion. So 1, you never really see anybody using them, and 2, you never really get to use them for yourself. So it doesn't even really feel like they're in the game most of the time, but I will say when I do get to use one, it is extremely fun. I love the helicopters so much. I'm really glad they finally brought them back, but I just wish they spawned in better spots, because it almost feels like they're not even in the game right now. That's how little you see them. We also got new movement in the game, which feels great. It's really, really fun to run around with the brand new sprint mechanic and the mantling and everything. It's just a lot of fun, and I really, really like it. I'm kind of confused why they kept it in the building mode. I feel like it does feel kind of odd in building, but then again, I haven't really had much chance to play building mode. I haven't really played it much at all this season, so yeah, take that with a grain of salt. But overall, I really love the new movement. I think it's a lot of fun, I think it's great, and I hope that it stays. It's just super satisfying to run around the map and mantle onto things without having to build a ramp everywhere. It's just super intuitive, it's great, it works for zero build, I think really well. It combines great with the sliding. Overall, I think it's just wonderful. The map changes this season were also pretty good. We got Synapse Station, which I think is a really, really great POI to go to. I really like the Fortress 2. It's really small and packed, but it's a lot of fun to land there. My only complaints though with these POIs is that they are just IO and 7 themed again, which I don't really like the theming of them, but they are fun POIs to go to. We also have the Collider that got added recently as well. I think that's a pretty cool POI. I made a whole video on that if you guys want to check that out as well. Honestly, the only complaint I have with the map changes is the fact that Tilted got destroyed. But again, I want to see what they do with it next season before I end up complaining about that too much, because there could be a really cool thing that replaces Tilted in the future. We'll just have to wait and see. We also got some pretty cool cosmetics this season, but overall I don't think they were too strong. Again, a lot of them are IO and 7 themed, so not really a huge fan, but I think the Battle Pass was alright. Like I said in my ranking video, I think it's one of the weaker ones we've seen in a while, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that bad. It's just not really one of my favorites. And in terms of my final thoughts on the season, I think the season is just painfully average. I think it's just middle of the road. It feels very formulaic. It feels like a Chapter 2 season all over again, and I just hope that Chapter 3 doesn't keep going in this direction. And I know I've said a lot of negative things in this video, but I also do think that the season introduced some of the best things to ever come to Fortnite, including the brand new movement and zero build. So it's always important to recognize the really good things that the season has done for the game. And in fact, I think the season has been making the game enter a brand new era that is overall going to be much better in the future. I just feel like the actual contents of the season have been pretty plain, pretty dull, pretty dry, honestly. Just not very interesting, but I will say the game is still fun to play, and I think that's what's really important. This season may have not been one of my favorites, but I played it throughout the entire thing. I definitely didn't play it as much as I played last season, but I consistently kept playing the game and it kept bringing me back with the updates, the content, and all that kind of stuff. So even though I'm not really a huge fan of the season, I definitely don't dislike it. I think it's just kind of middle of the road. It's very average, but it's still Fortnite, it's still fun, and it doesn't do too much to make me too upset. But again, I do have a lot of complaints with it, like you saw in this video, and I hope the next season is much better. But overall, it's not like one of the worst seasons in the world. And like I said before, it did add a bunch of really good things to the game. So while I did have a lot of criticisms in this video, what I will say is that this season was very average and I was not a huge fan of it, but I don't think it was necessarily bad either. This was a very middle of the road season, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 kind of season, and I'm very optimistic to see what they have in store for next season. But now is when I turn the conversation over to you guys. What do you guys think about this season? Let me know in the comment section below. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new because I make videos like this all the time, and you can also use my supporter creator code Bendominator in the Fortnite item shop, #ad. Thank you guys so much for watching, have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.